Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Bodhang Saranang Gacchami. Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Duthyampi Bodhang Saranang Gacchami. Duthyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Duthyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Tatyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Tatyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Tatyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Kame Sumichachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Suramirya Maja Pamaditana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to abstain from killing. I undertake the precept to abstain from taking what is not given. I undertake the precept to abstain from sexual misconduct. I undertake the precept to abstain from false and malicious speech. I undertake the precept to abstain from intoxicants that induce heedlessness. Karaniyang atta kusalena yantang santang padang abhisamecha sakko ujucha sujucha suvachocha samuru anantimani santusakocha subarocha appagabo kulesu ananugidu nachakudam samachare kenchiyena vinyupade upavadeyum. Sukino va kemino hontu. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata. Ye kechipana bhutati. Tasava tavarava anavasesam. Tigava ye mahantava. Majjimarasakanukatulla. Dittava ye va aditta. Ye chedure vasanti aviture. Bhutava sambhave siva. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata. Naparu parang nikubeta. Nyati manyeta katta chinam kanchi. Pyaro sanapatiga sanya. Jnanamanyasa dukkamicheya. Mata yata niyang puttang. Ayusa eka puttang anurakke. Evam pisabha bhutesu. Manasang bhavaye aparimanam. Mettang ca sabba lokasmin. Manasang bhavaye aparimanam. Uttang adocha tiriyancha. Asampadang averang asapatang. Titang charang nisinova. Sayanova yavatassa vigantamido. Etang satim aditeya. Brahmang etang viharang idamahu. Dittincha anupagama silava. Dasanena sampanno. Kame suvinaya gedam. Nahi jatu gabaseyam. Punyaeti. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away. those born and to be born. May all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
When the body and mind are connected to the breath, Then we are inhaling peacefulness and we are exhaling peacefulness. Let us experience peace while the body is inhaling and exhaling. We hear sounds, of course. We experience different bodily sensations as usual. We are having thoughts often. With this peaceful awareness, we have capacity to accept all of them without rejecting and without resisting. We have enough capacity for all these experiences. After accepting each experience. We return to the present in-breath and present out-breath. We meditate for peace, not for fight. So no fight with anything, internal or external. no resistance, more acceptance. Even now we can accept our wandering mind. By accepting, we can change the mind. We may open eyes slowly and consciously now. Dear friends, now time for the discussion. I think Paul is there to moderate it. Dear Paul, over to you.
Good afternoon, Upul. Dear friends from all over the world, good afternoon and good evening. My name is Paul. I have the great pleasure to moderate or to facilitate the discussion today. So if you have any question that you would like to ask about the talk of this morning, or about your meditation practice, or about your spiritual life, this is the moment to raise the question. And there are two ways to do it. When you look at the bottom of your screen, you see chat. If you click on the chat box, you will see the possibility to write down your question or what you would like to share. And if you send it to me, and my name is Paul, P-A-U-L, my family name is Van Hooijdonk, maybe a little difficult for many of you. So if you send me your question, then I will raise a question and I will present it to Upul. So this is option number one. Or you can also raise the question directly. So if you simply raise your hand, I think there is also a way to do that on the screen, or you can simply raise your hand and I can see that, and then you can ask your question directly. So that is basically everything that I wanted to say. I see, I'm having a look at the chat box, there is no question at the moment, so maybe somebody would like to raise a question directly. Please go ahead.
We can also ask questions, or we can share our experiences.
I have a question.
Please, Claudia.
Mm-hmm. It is said that...
Can you bring the microphone a little closer to your mouth, please?
I can try to speak louder. Is that okay?
Yeah. Perfect, perfect. Thank you.
It is said that when the concentration is getting deeper, that it is not possible to feel the breath anymore. I feel that there is a deepening in my concentration, but I always feel the breath somewhere in the body. Does that mean that more concentration is even possible, or I don't know, am I doing something wrong or not yet good enough or deep enough? Or I don't know, this is just different to different people.
Okay, I think the question is clear, but I will summarize it anyway. So the question is, it is said that when the concentration becomes deeper, then we do not feel the breath anymore. I notice that my concentration becomes deeper, but I still feel the breath. Am I doing something wrong? Am I doing it good enough? I think, Claudia, this is your question. So, Upul, we are listening to you.
Thanks, Paul, and thanks, Claudia. Well, as I was trying to explain, that there are two kinds of concentration. One is we can concentrate on an external object, a sound or a vision or even a mantra. So we are going outside of ourselves. We are going away from ourselves with that concentration. And how much we establish that concentration with that external object, that much we cannot feel ourselves. That much we are away from ourselves. So it's a temporary relief. That's good. That's good. But that concentration called raw concentration, not the right one. Because the whole purpose of this practice is to cultivate self-awareness, to understand ourselves more deeply. But if we can't feel ourselves anymore, any longer, then what is the point? It is like anesthetic, doing anesthesia, or going to a trance. So there are many possibilities, so many kinds of concentrations. But what we try to cultivate is concentration based on self-awareness. Especially when we do practice mindfulness of breathing meditation, we always contact, touch, and sense our in and out breathing from the beginning to the end. Whenever we are unable to feel the breath, whenever we are unable to touch the breath and feel the breath, that means we lose our self-awareness. So again, we had to establish our awareness on our in and out breathing. That is really important. By doing this, we can go deeper into our consciousness with high level of concentration. Then we can detach from sensual experiences. No sound can affect us anymore, or no pain can affect us anymore. Even no thought or no memory can disturb us anymore, but still we feel and we experience present in-breath and out-breath. That is the anchor. That's the anchor to this moment, to this awareness. Therefore, dear Claudia, you are in the right path. So don't worry. Please continue.
Okay, I think the answer is clear. So Upul said there are two kinds of concentration. The first one is the concentration on an external object, like a sound or a visual object or a mantra. So the awareness is directed outside. And the result of that is that we cannot feel ourselves. It is a kind of temporary relief from ourselves, and it is good, but it is the wrong kind of concentration, because the whole purpose is to cultivate self-awareness. So this first kind of concentration, you can compare it with a kind of trance or a kind of anesthesia, but it is about self-awareness. So the concentration based on self-awareness, and we can use the breath, the in and out breath, for that. So the idea is to establish awareness on the in and out breath, and that is our anchor. The in and out breath. So Claudia, you are on the right path. You don't have to worry. That is basically Upul's answer. So Claudia, is that a clear answer? Thank you. So I see that there is a question in the chat box from Gerry van Dijk. I read it out loud. Dear Mr. Upul, It is good to see you again. Can you explain the difference, if any, between meditation on breathing and meditation according to Goenka? So, Upul, the question is, can you explain the difference between meditation on breathing and meditation according to Goenka?
With me in a deep trouble because I didn't practice that so-called famous Vipassana meditation so far. So therefore, I cannot say anything about that. But what I have heard is from practitioners, they ask us to concentrate on our nostrils to feel our in and out breathing. And when we establish our concentration on that strongly, then we can practice body scanning. So that's what I have heard. And actually, I have heard this directly from Master Goenka when he gave a public talk. I have heard directly from him. But I didn't practice or I didn't follow that course yet. Therefore, I don't have any practical experiences to answer to this question. Meditating on the breath is something simple. Something simple. We don't do anything to the breath. Nothing to do with the breath. Really, we don't do anything to the breath. Nothing to do with the breath. Everything is doing with the mindfulness, with the awareness. We have to work a lot with the awareness, with the mindfulness. The breath is as an anchor, that's all. Mindfulness is the practice. Therefore, mindfulness on breathing meditation. I don't know, maybe I didn't answer to your question fully, I'm sorry.
So, okay, Upul, I will summarize what you said. Upul said, Giri, you put him in big trouble because he didn't practice the so-called Vipassana and he cannot speak out of his own experience, but what he has heard is that people concentrate on the breath touching the nostrils and then they practice the body scan, but he cannot share his personal practical experiences. Meditation on the breath is simple. We don't do anything with the breath. We work with mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice. So, Giri, is that a satisfying answer for you?
Yes, it is satisfying. I one time did the Goenka meditation, was my first meditation. And when I went to Nilambe, of course, was very different. And I do realize the body scan, which has a complete different effect from the meditation at the Nilambe Center. So it felt for me more that Goenka was, as I interpreted it, that you really had to know the skills to be able to do that body scan, and it felt very good to do it, but it felt more of a relief of your present awareness than going deeper into your in awareness to become less burdened by your thoughts. Okay, thank you for the answer. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Giri. There is another question in the chat box, and it's quite a long one, from Venerable Dhamadipa. Thanks to Upul to take the trouble to be with us and teach us 3 days. This is only a sharing. So Venerable Dhammadipa is a Buddhist nun. She's participating in our retreat these 3 days, and she has been a long friend of Nilambe, and she would like to share the following. At the beginning of the practice, I had the greatest difficulties not to control my breath. Very subtle, but it mostly happened. But there was one guided meditation many years ago, and the words were used, the breath is entering the body, the breath is leaving the body. These were just words, but they made a breakthrough for me. So basically, what Venerable Dhammadipa is sharing with us is she had difficulties not to control the breath, so she had a tendency to control or manipulate the breath in a very, very subtle way. She could not help it, it just happened. But then, during one guided meditation, many years ago, these words were used. The breath is entering the body and the breath is leaving the body. These were just words, but they were a breakthrough for her. So Upul, would you like to comment on this sharing?
Well, the comment is perfect, nothing to add or nothing to remove anything. Anyway, yeah, it's a nice experience, nice sharing. Actually, this is the case, and this is the cause for all of problems and suffering. In the beginning, we are suffering because we want to control everything. In our worldly life, in our everyday life, this is the immediate cause behind all of our conflicts and suffering. We want to control things. We want to control others. We want to control the weather, climate, everything. And when things are going out of our control, then we are suffering. The controller is suffering. And then we come to the meditation, and then the meditation asks us to not to control anything. Then we start to control. We start to control the breath. Then difficult to let go this habit. So again we are suffering. While we are meditating, we are suffering. While we are living, we are suffering because of this secret tendency of the ego. The ego. This is the ego. Who wants to control the ego? Nobody wants to control anything or anybody, only the ego. And the ego doesn't want to meditate. The ego does everything not to meditate. The ego says everything to discourage us, not to encourage us, to discourage us. But anyhow, after we decided to meditate, then the ego comes and says, I can meditate for you. Don't worry, I can meditate for you. And the ego doesn't know how to meditate, and the ego doesn't want to meditate either. And the ego doesn't want to learn to meditate. But it says, I can meditate for you. I know how to meditate. So what the ego knows is to control. To control. That's the only thing what the ego knows. So then it tries to control. First, it tries to control outside things. If somebody is there inside the home or inside that room, then the ego asks don't make any sound. I am meditating. Don't disturb me. So ego tries to control neighbors. And the ego tries to control then the mind. Oh, don't think. I want to meditate. Don't think. And then ego finally tries to control the breath. Actually, the idea is just observe the breathing. The ego doesn't know how to observe, and the ego doesn't want to observe anything. The ego doesn't know the beauty of observation. So it wants to jump into the middle of any activity and tries to change it. So it tries to change the breathing, the rhythm of breath, and ego thinks that is the way to meditate. Breathe in and breathe out the way in order to the ego. And it makes us tired. So that is one of the reasons behind the tiredness we experience after doing this breathing meditation, because the ego is trying to change the rhythm of breathing, breath. For a couple of seconds, it's okay, but if it is continuing, then it makes us tired. It makes the entire system tired. And also it creates a lot of breathing difficulties physically. So finally we give up the practice. That is the thing what ego wants to do. So finally we give up the practice. No relax. We cannot relax. We cannot concentrate. No physical comfort. No peace. Only tiredness and conflict. So we think our meditation is useless. No benefit. We didn't do meditation at all. So fortunately, dear Sister Dhammadeepa, you have heard this wise 4 words: entering into the body and leaving the body. Entering into the body and leaving from the body. So that's the thing. The ego is not important for that at all. The ego cannot do anything. So simply we witness to this very beautiful nature. As I said, it's a circle. We are witnessing to this circle, and how much we can accept this nature, that much we can detach from the ego. Thanks.
Thank you, Upul. So, Sister Dhammadeepa, basically there is nothing to add to what you shared. In the beginning, we suffer because we want to control everything. We want to control things. We want to control others. We want to control the weather and the climate even. Also in our daily life, not only in our meditation practice. And the controller is the sufferer. In meditation, we don't control anything. The only thing we do is watching and observing. So when we try to control the breath, again, we suffer. The ego is responsible for the controlling. And the ego does everything to discourage us from meditation. The ego doesn't want to meditate. Control is the only thing the ego knows. That is, I think, a very important sentence that Upul just said. Basically, the core of what he said, I think. Control is the only thing the ego knows. So the ego says, don't disturb me, to the environment. Don't think, to the mind. So the ego tries to control the environment, the mind, while meditation is just observing. But the ego wants to jump in and try to change even the breath. So I think you are there. Was that a helpful explanation, sister? Maybe you can put on your microphone because...
Okay, yes, thank you. You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I have to switch off the light because otherwise 1,000 mosquitoes are meditating with me. But thank you for the nice conclusion and putting the things together. And it was only like a sharing, but I think how Upul put it, it was really, I think maybe other people have such beginner difficulties too. So that was my reason to share.
Absolutely, sister. I think it's very common. I personally had the same problem. So I think it's very useful that you shared your experiences. I see that there is no new message in the chat box, so maybe somebody would like to ask a question directly. Please feel free.
Hello, Paul. Can I ask a question?
Is this Mandy?
Yes, this is Mandy. Yes.
Yes, Mandy, go ahead.
Thank you. A question about the mind. The first one is the mind belongs to us? And the second one is it unique or is it composed by several parts?
Okay, I'm writing down your question. So the first one is, does the mind belong to us?
Yes.
And the second one is?
The second one is it composed by several parts?
Okay.
Or is it unique? I mean, in one piece? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you put your camera a little more down? Then we can also see you better.
Is it good?
The camera, yeah, that's better. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So Mandy's question is, she has two questions. The first one is, does the mind belong to us? And second question is it unique? Or is it composed by several parts? Did I understand that correctly?
Correctly.
Okay, so Upul, we are listening to you again.
Well, dear Mandy, on one hand, it's a very philosophical question. If I say yes to your first question, then difficult to answer to the second part. Because if the mind belongs to us, then we can do whatever with the mind. Then the mind is a tool, is an instrument, and we are the players. So we can play whatever with this instrument if the instrument belongs to us. But it is not happening in that way. Most probably it goes other way around. We do whatever our mind asks us to do. So we are instruments. The mind is the player at the moment. Therefore, actually, we belong to the mind. Not the mind belongs to us. We belong to the mind. So upside down. And yes, mind is a word. It is just a name for what? for so many activities, so many functions. Actually, there is no mind. Only functions are there. Only activities are there. And we use this label mind for all those activities. We can see physical activities. I am talking now. So it's an activity I am doing with the body. And I can write down. I can look at things. I can walk. I can run. I can do gardening. So many physical activities that we are doing with the body. And sometimes we are doing some other activities which are not physical. I can remember what I have done in this morning. And if somebody asks me, Upul, what are you doing now? I have to say I am remembering what I have done in this morning. And then you can challenge me, Upul, can you prove it? I cannot prove this. How I can prove this? That I am remembering what I have done in this morning, I cannot prove, but I am doing this. So it's one of the functions. And I can make a plan for tomorrow. Again, I cannot prove it that I am making a plan. And I can appreciate what you are doing here. I can understand what you say. So there are so many activities which are not purely physical. And so we say mind for all those non-physical activities and non-physical functions. So mind is just a name. It is just a name. And we use this name for collection of activities and functions. And the important thing is each activity is depending on so many other things. Therefore, it is not unique and it is not something independent. So mind is not independent at all. It is depending on many things. If the mind is happy, that happiness is depending on the present bodily conditions, on present environmental conditions, and on so many other things. If the mind is angry again, that anger is not unique. It is depending on many other factors. Therefore, mind is not something independent and unique. It is depending on external factors which are not belongs to the mind.
Okay, thank you very much, Upul. That's very clear. So, Mandy, if the answer to the first question, does the mind belong to us, is yes, then we would be able to do with the mind whatever we want. But mostly, the mind is not the instrument, our instrument, but mostly we are the instruments of the mind. Mostly we belong to the mind and not vice versa. The mind is a name for many activities and many functions, and we use this label mind for all those activities. I can walk, I can run, I can do gardening, said Upul. I can also understand what you are saying. So we use the word mind for all those non-physical activities. Mind is just a name. It is not unique and it is not independent. The mind depends on many things. If the mind is happy, that happiness is dependent on external factors like the bodily condition, the environmental condition. So the mind is not unique or independent. It is depending on external factors that exist independently from the mind. Is that clear, Mandy?
Yes, it is very clear. Can I have a follow-up question on the answer?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So in this case, what is the role of us when mentioning the mind? Are we exist in the situations?
Sorry, I'm afraid I don't completely understand the question. Can you ask it again? In this case, what is our role?
When mentioning the mind.
Okay.
Well, yes, well, yeah, still we have a role. Still we have a role. Otherwise, no freedom. Freedom is existing because there is a role what we should play. We still didn't play that role. That's why we are not free. But freedom is something real because of that role what we should play. That is called awareness. Awareness. Awareness means we can supervise the mind. We can observe the mind. It doesn't matter that whether mind is belongs to us or not, doesn't matter. We can observe the mind. That is more superior than belongs. We can observe it, what the mind is doing now. If whatever mind is doing, we can watch. We are there. By observing, we can understand what is behind it. What force or what cause is behind every single mental activity. We can discover it. And we can remove unnecessary factors. We cannot control the anger, but we can remove some preconditions to the anger. We can let go of them, or we can add some positive qualities to the mind, which helps us to not to be angry. By observing and by understanding. So we have a role, we have a place. We have to play that important role. It is called awareness. With awareness, we can change everything.
Okay. So Upul said freedom is real because of the role that we can play. And that role is awareness. We can observe the mind. It doesn't matter if the mind belongs to us or not. We can observe it. We can watch the mind and see whatever it is doing. We can also remove unnecessary aspects, conditions, things that are not wholesome. We can let go of those, and we can develop positive qualities of the mind. So that is our role, and our role is called awareness. Is that a clear and satisfying answer, Mandy?
Yes, I'm very satisfied. And I especially like the conclusion is with awareness, we can change everything. So that means life is hopeful.
So that means life is not?
Life is hopeful.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and can be very beautiful with awareness. Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a look in the chat box.
Hi, I'm Winnie.
Duen Yi Li. Please, go
I'm
ahead.
Winnie, yeah.
Oui.
Follow Mandy question. I'm curious, any relationship in between the ego and the mind, is it correlate? Who is the boss? The ego is the boss or the mind is the boss?
Okay, Upu, who is the boss, the ego or the mind?
It depends. Mind is a vehicle, so anyone can drive it. When the ego is driving the vehicle, then it's very risky journey to the mind itself and also to the others who are inside of the vehicle and who are on the road. So that's why we had to change the driver, we had to change the rider, we had to change the pilot and the captain. So this is the thing what we are doing with meditation. We are not changing the vehicle. Vehicle is okay. Vehicle is perfect. Human mind is a full option vehicle. Full option, that is the most latest production. So nothing wrong. The problem is the driver. He's so careless, or she's so careless. Or he is so careless, and even the driver doesn't know how to drive this vehicle. The driver doesn't want to learn because the driver thinks he or she knows how to drive the vehicle without learning, without knowing. That's why it's called ego, very egoistic. So whatever problem that we are encountering, not because of the mind, because of the ego, who drives the mind. So what we are doing with meditation is we are slowly and gently changing the driver. We are asking the awareness to drive the mind, to drive the life. So we are putting awareness on the driving seat. Whenever the awareness is on the driving seat, then everything is so comfortable. No accidents at all. No conflicts at all. The life goes so smoothly, so beautifully. So that's the thing, what we have to do. The ego and mind are not same.
Okay, I hope I pronounced your name right. Duen Yi Li, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I'm Winnie.
Really, okay. Okay, Winnie, relationship between ego and mind. Who is the boss? That was the question. So Upul said it depends. The mind is the vehicle and anyone can drive it. If the ego is drive it, then we change the driver, or we change the pilot, or we change the captain in our meditation. That is what we do in meditation. We don't change the vehicle is the mind. There's nothing wrong with the vehicle, but the problem is the driver. The driver thinks he or she knows. So that is why it is called ego, egoistic. Whatever problem we encounter is not because of the mind, but because of the driver. So what we do in our meditation practice is we change the driver. We exchange the ego for awareness. So when awareness is in the driving seat, there are no accidents and there are no conflicts. Is that a clear answer, Winnie?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? If not, we can conclude.
I have something, Upul, that I would like to mention. In your Dhamma talk, you were talking about bringing the mind home and using the breath to bring the mind home. Maybe can you talk a little bit on this, or do you mean with bringing the mind home that we stop running after thoughts about past and future and using the breath as an anchor to come back to this moment? And is that what you call home, this moment?
Yeah, our real home is the present moment. The present moment is the real home. But the mind doesn't know that it has its own real home. And also mind doesn't know how rich the mind is. The mind thinks it's so poor, it doesn't have anything. That's why mind is begging for happiness from every single sensual experience. And we had to show the path to come back to the present moment, to its own real home. But if we simply say you have to be in the present is not obvious at all. It is invisible. It is just a word. So the mind needs some kind of railing or anchor. The breath is giving an anchor to the mind. The breath is not the present moment, but the breath is working as an anchor to the mind to return to the present moment.
Thank you. Very clear. So, so your answer was our home is, or the present moment, And the present moment is not obvious, it is invisible, and the breath is basically our anchor to come back to this present moment, or to come back home. That's basically what you said.
Yes.
Okay. So I see that there is one more question in the chat box from Susanna. Dear Upul, I am trying to understand the difference between concentration and awareness. Is it possible to say that concentration is the one-pointedness of awareness? Thank you for an answer. So Upul, the question is, what is the difference between concentration and awareness? And could you say that concentration is one-pointedness of awareness?
Well, when the awareness is there, we can observe things. That is the function of the awareness. That is the activity of awareness. Observing what is happening. And there are so many things are happening. Not only one thing. We hear sounds, we are experiencing pain and other some sensations. At the same time, we are remembering things and we are thinking. So many things are happening. We can observe. But if we want to understand one thing, then we have to stay with one experience. So that is called concentration. Out of couple of experiences, we can hold our awareness on one particular experience with the concentration. So when the concentration is there, then we can stay with one experience from the beginning to the end to understand fully about that experience. If the concentration level is very low, then we are jumping from one to the other. But still we can observe this surfing, but we cannot go deeper into one experience if we do not have good enough concentration.
Okay, so Susanna, the answer was when awareness is there, we can observe what is happening. Staying with one thing is concentration. So to hold our awareness on one experience, that is concentration, and we use that to understand the experience fully from the beginning to the end. When the concentration is low, the mind has a jumping quality. It goes from one object to another. So concentration is basically holding the awareness on one experience. Is that a clear answer?
Thank you very much.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Please.
In the Buddhist terms, awakening or enlightenment, on what do we have to concentrate then the mind for helping that process?
Okay. So basically your question is, when we talk about awakening or enlightenment in Buddhism, what do we have to concentrate on? Upul, what do you think?
Yeah, we have to concentrate on whatever we are experiencing right now. That's the only thing what we have to concentrate, or what we can concentrate. We cannot concentrate on anything else other than what we are experiencing right now. Therefore, every single experience is very important. We should not miss any single experience. We have the message of the secret of enlightenment is inside of every single experience. We cannot say these experiences are impure and those experiences are pure. These experiences are worldly and those experiences are spiritual. No. Whatever we experience in this moment with our life is holy and sacred. And every single experience has the secret message of enlightenment. Further, the door or the gate of the enlightenment or to the enlightenment is inside of whatever we experience in this moment. Therefore, we have to concentrate on whatever we experience right now.
So what we do is we concentrate on what we are experiencing right now. And every experience is important. The seed of enlightenment is inside of every single experience. Isn't that a beautiful sentence? The seed of enlightenment is inside of every single experience. So we cannot say that some experiences are important, some experiences are not important. All are sacred, because every single experience carries the seed of enlightenment. That is why we should concentrate on every single experience. Claudia, is that clear? Is there any other question or something that you would like to share?
I think no more questions.
One more question.
I see that Widdy raises her hand, Upul. Shall we do one more?
Yeah.
Please, Widdy.
Yeah, I want to more understand about the awareness. Is it? I heard awareness. One of the elements is for the awareness is observe. Is there any element included?
I'm afraid I didn't completely understand. Can you raise the question again?
About the awareness. Yeah, I heard was that one of the main element of awareness is observing. Observe.
Okay. Right.
Is there any other element included?
Okay. So Upul, talking about awareness, is that mainly observing, or is there any other element, part of awareness?
Yeah, the very first function of the awareness is keeping distance. It is creating a distance in between the observer and the object. That's the first element of the awareness. So whenever we are having awareness, then we are here, whatever we observe is there. Maybe it could be a thought, it could be an emotion, it could be a sensation, whatever. But we are not inside of that experience. We are outsiders. That's why we can observe. So observation comes later. The first element is distant, and then because of this distance, we can observe. And there are more elements, but I think this is enough for today.
Okay, so really the answer is the first element is distance. We keep a distance between the observer and the object, and because of this distance, we can observe. Okay, I think this was enough for the questions. I would like to briefly mention something to everybody. It's something that I say every online meditation day, but maybe it's better to do that on the last day. Yeah, I think I better leave it here and I better do it on the last day. I was going to ask to say something about Dana, but I think it's better to do it the last day. So Upul, would you like to conclude this first retreat day?
Thanks, my dear Paul, for moderating this evening discussion beautifully and powerfully, because we all can understand clearly the Dhamma, the practice. And my dear friends, thank you very much for asking practical questions. And thank you very much for sharing your experiences with all of us. I think we have a beautiful day. We had a beautiful day from morning up to now. With this beautiful feeling, we can close the chapter now. My dear friends, here we are in different time zones. Therefore, I cannot say good night to everybody. Maybe I don't know what to say. Anyway, yeah, have a pleasant morning. Have a pleasant noontime and afternoon and evening. And at the end, may all of us sleep peacefully without having any unpleasant experiences, and maybe wake up peacefully as a lotus flower